Good evening and welcome. I trust you're all well and safe. Let me see if I can unmute you guys. There you go, Kirsten. And Terence and Prince and Yasin.
Hello, sir.
Hi. Okay. The people are still marching out there. We'll just wait. Saloshni, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening. Just wait a minute or two. So, bit early. Yeah, 3 minutes. Welcome, Nadine. Can't have a class without you. And Cindy. Okay, anybody got any questions? You can ask your questions. Anybody out there whose mic is not allowed? Okay. No, everybody seems to be all right. No questions, just unmute and talk to me. Even if you want to ask me, how's the weather here in Durban? No. Sishle, welcome. "11 attendees. I think everybody's mics have been allowed or yeah. Okay, no questions? There's still another 2 minutes in case somebody joins late. Fadwa. There you go. So all are waiting in anticipation. I trust you got your assignment marks back by now and that you're very happy with it. Janie and Jonathan, just allowing your mics. Incentives for the exam, Cindy, what's that? I don't do incentives. Okay, let me just double check that everybody's mics are okay. Welcome to my colleague, QAMS Teams. Can you make sure everybody's mics have been allowed, so to speak? Thank you. Okay.
It's allowed.
Okay, thank you, Sama. Let me share my screen since you're all waiting in anticipation. Or only one person says they want what? They want tips, instant tips for the exams. Would be great. Off the record. Off the record. Oh dear. Okay. No. All right. Okay, so let me share my screen and let's get the show on the road. Not going to be too long, only about 2 hours. You'll have any other webinars tonight? No. Okay, so where are we? Today is the 30th, yeah. Okay. Unknown user. Okay, let me just, I trust you can see my screen. Let me just check something on the chat. Oh, okay. Last time you said be patient, waiting to ask at the end. Oh, okay. Okay. Somebody says no. Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Welcome again, everybody. Okay. That's fine. No problem. Let me get back to my screen. Okay. So I trust you all can see my screen. Let me put it into presentation mode. There you go. All right. So it's BCom International Business 302. The last webinar of the first semester for you. I think all your other webinars for your annual subjects are done. Okay. So you won't see me again. Maybe that's a good thing. Good evening and welcome. A word from our sponsor, Region Connect for Jobs. Rule number 1 continues to apply. You must be familiar with the contents of the module. And we have 2, 4, 6, 8 chapters, so to speak, from the business environment to global strategy and everything in between. Remembering, however, to integrate your knowledge. So we spoke about the business environment and what it is. Then we talked about globalization and managing in a global environment and the challenges of globalization and the benefits, of course. Then we looked at each of these environments, the socio-cultural environment. F stands for focus, but I don't know what else it stands for. Fail, I'm not sure. Legal, political environment, the economic environment, and the technological environment. And all together then, let's get my notes here. Yeah, all together, you would look at it and be able to put it together. Then the process of going global and global strategy, that's what we'll talk about today. And that's it, really. Okay, so these are what you're going to get in the exam. And if you haven't seen it quickly enough, well, unfortunately, you lost out. So just to remind you, international business is about allowing companies to expand their markets and reach a global customer base. It's a driver of economic growth. It's a complex landscape because of cultures, markets, and regulatory frameworks. And therefore, it's all about growth, capitalizing on opportunities, forming strategic partnerships, and leveraging technology to overcome challenges. So we talked about this before. We want to know what are the benefits of going global, and you know all of that. The why. The way then is about which countries do we go to. And here we have to take into account the political systems, economic stability, the economic environment, the socio-cultural environment, the technological environment, and above all, the cost of doing business. And today we'll talk about the how we enter. And of course, there's one more question, when, the timing of entry. So again, you need to be familiar with the risks of global business. Again, the normal risk, commercial risk, but there's also the cross-cultural risk, the country risk, and then the currency risk. And you're expected to know all about this. Not as a question that simply says discuss the 4 risks or the risks of global business in the context of a case study or an article or whatever else. So that chapter starts talking about strategic management. I don't really need to talk about it because in your business management 3, you're doing strategic management. Again, it's about achieving long-term goals, setting objectives, developing plans, executing strategies, strategy formulation, strategy implementation, strategy evaluation. And it's about aligning resources and actions with the vision and mission. Vision being who we want to become or what we want to be, and the mission, who we are and what we do. And it's all about gaining competitive advantage. So these are some of the aspects of strategic management: setting objectives, analyzing the environment. Now take this in an international space, so to speak, and again, it's the same thing. Where are we going? Where do we want to be? What are the goals, the future goals of the organization? Or what are the goals that we hope to achieve? And if it's growth, and that growth could be domestically or beyond our borders. So that then requires us to analyze the environment, to look for opportunities, threats, and our strengths and weaknesses internally, and to see whether we have the resources and what we can do and which would be the best opportunities to exploit. So that then strategy formulation, implementing this, developing the strategy formulation, and then implementing the strategy, and then regularly assessing progress. So the process is straightforward. What is our mission? What is our purpose? And our long-term what are our long-term aspirations? Assess the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Formulate strategies, implement the strategies, put those plans into action, and then evaluate and control, monitoring performance. Make for the purpose of making adjustments. So what are some of the benefits? Well, I don't have to tell you all of this. It's about adaptability, improving alignment, improve coordination, etc. Because strategic management forces every department to work together more effectively. So that's the key elements: situation analysis, formulation, implementation, evaluation. Nothing too critical. So let's then talk about global strategies. What is a global strategy? A plan for expanding operations into new markets. A deliberate, cohesive approach to find a balance between, and here's an important thing, standardized offerings and adapting to suit local markets and culture. So one way of entering new markets is to simply take your product as it is, as a standard product, and sell it elsewhere, or a service, sell it elsewhere, okay? And that would enable us to get economies of scale, and therefore perhaps better returns and lower fixed costs, etc. If you remember your economics, in the long run, fixed costs are reduced. Okay? So, but the other way is to say, well, a particular market that we enter, we got to adapt our products to suit local markets and cultures. So you have to find the balance between the standard offering and this adaptation that may be required. So here's the key aspects. The first is this one, and I ask you to think about this very carefully: standardization versus adaptation. Okay? So the need to offer consistent products and services globally while also tailoring them to meet specific needs and preferences. Then again, what are our unique competitive advantage, as we talked about in strategy? Understanding the needs of customers in different markets, recognizing the cultural nuances and consumer behavior, navigating those regulations in other countries, business practices, and then trying to optimize your operations, which you'll do anyway. You have to do it globally. So therefore, cultural adaptation is essential, even in terms of our communication, our marketing messages, etc. You have to plan your media. You got to do market research. You got to leverage your digital platforms, and always, like everything else, continuous evaluation and adaptation. Okay, which you'll do even in the local market. Continuous evaluation, monitoring, adaptation, because our competitors might be doing something different, or there might be new regulations, the whole thing about strategic management. So we talk about 4 types of global strategies: international, multi-domestic, global strategy, and transnational. So international strategy is about minimal adaptation of products or services for different markets. It's the same approach that we do at home, so to speak, right? By simply expanding into other countries with the same approach, minimal adaptation. Multi-domestic is the opposite of that. It emphasizes adaptation to local market needs. And they may even be decentralized operations. Global strategy is about cost leadership and standardization. Again, minimal adaptation. And a transnational strategy tries to do both: global efficiency and local responsiveness. So let me just show you something here that might illustrate this better. So on the one scale, on the one axis, global integration, on the other scale, local responsiveness. Okay, local responsiveness. So we see when the local responsiveness is high and global integration is high, that's the transnational strategy that tries to do both. When the global integration is low and the local responsiveness is high, that's a multi-domestic strategy. Okay, on the other hand, when both are low, that's an international strategy. We just want to make more. But then when the global integration is high and the local responsiveness is low, that's the global strategy. So just to show you again that you have to identify, then this is not to say that you can't have more than one strategy. This is just a typology, okay? And you'll see specific examples just now. So when we take an international strategy, we're not concerned about cost or adapting to local cultural conditions. Okay, and that's an important aspect. We're not really wanting to reduce our costs per, let's say, unit, or our unit costs. All we're trying to do is sell our products internationally. So examples are Harley Davidson. You might have heard of Harley Davidson motorcycles, Belgium chocolate exports, even Starbucks and Rolex. Examples of organizations pursuing an international strategy. All right. And this thing is that it's not about cost or adapting to local cultural conditions. A multi-domestic strategy, on the other hand, does not focus on cost or efficiency, but emphasizes that responsiveness to local markets, local requirements. So we got Netflix as an example. Another example is where, for example, McDonald's has adapted to certain cultures. So in India, there's no beef, a Big Mac beef burger. So they have what they call a Big Mac Aloo, which is a potato burger, so to speak. Okay, so this is really about focusing on being responsive to local requirements, multi-domestic, so that while you operate in different countries, your offerings, your products might vary given the local requirements. So a multi-domestic strategy. Then the global strategy, again, it's really about lower costs and better efficiency. It's the opposite of multi-domestic strategy. So there might be some minor modifications, but this is generally like a standard product. But the more you do of it, the lower your costs, as I said. So global strategy, Microsoft, for example, Procter & Gamble, you might have heard, oh, these are all American themes. Lenovo, it's not, yeah, also uses the strategy. Variance in local preferences is not important, but pricing is. It's about efficiency and cost. Excuse me. So multi-domestic, transnational, trying to find this middle ground between multi-domestic and a global strategy. So KFC might do that. They have the same core menu items around the world, and then they make concessions to local tastes as well. So there's an example of France where you can purchase wine at a McDonald's because all the French like wine with their meals. In Saudi Arabia, for example, the McDonald's don't have any pork products in their offerings. That kind of thing, some adaptation, but generally a common menu, so to speak, for like fast food chains. Balancing lower costs and efficiency with the need to adjust to local preferences. So here's some examples of global strategies: Apple, McDonald's, Coca-Cola. All right. Don't have any other examples. Yeah. Okay. So I need you all to also look at this chapter. I didn't put the slides here. This chapter on the process of going global. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. It's not too critical. It just completes the understanding that it would start off perhaps with an inquiry from or an inquiry maybe on your website, or an inquiry from somebody overseas that are asking about your product. It may then result in an export division in your organization. It then might move on to some kind of getting an agent in another country. It might be a joint venture between the organization and another organization there in another country, that kind of thing. So we talk about entry strategies. I need you all to look at those entry strategies as well. We've covered it in entrepreneurship. Okay. But what I'll do is I'll put up some slides on the I'll put up some slides relating to entry strategies. Why slides are not here? Okay, if you just give me a minute, I'll try and find something. I thought I had it here. You just give me a minute. I'm going to stop sharing, and you can. Oh, I didn't put my camera on. How bad is that? Okay, you can just look at my face for a bit, and I'm going to find something. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can ask your questions. I know you're waiting patiently, Saloshni. Apologies for that small delay. Missed one thing out completely. Five. That was week 6. This is week 5. No. Questions. Apologies. Trying to find something. Oh.
Hi, sir. Just want to ask you a
Hello.
question.
Yes, go ahead.
If we get a question has types of global strategies, and
Yes.
do we list, like for example, international strategy, do we give the theory and then link it to the case study, or you just want a straight link to the case study?
No, well, you won't get a question that will be types of strategy.
No, I'm just saying
You-
for argument's sake.
Okay, so take a look at each of these strategies and look at the advantages and disadvantages, okay? And then this thing, say what type of strategy you think it is. Again, it depends on the question. It really
Yes.
depends on the question. But the key for me is this notion of global standardization versus local adaptation. Global standardization versus local adaptation. Okay, I'm not able to find that particular. Man, I can't believe this. I'm going to put it up. No, it's not. I'm going to put it up on the portal, or you can send me an email and I'll send it to you as well. It's about entry strategies. Let me get back to my sharing this. Sorry, that's the wrong thing.
Hi,
Sure.
sir.
Yes, hi, go ahead, Nadine.
So, so in business management, we've covered also strategies, but it's the
Yes.
low cost differentiation, focus, those
Yes,
things,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, in the international business, when we identify, let's say for whatever company, and we
Yes.
link it to whichever strategy within the business management, within the international business framework.
Yeah, that's a
Can we
global strategy. Yeah.
Yes, but then can we tap into mentioning of the business management strategies as well?
Yes,
Or would that be
absolutely.
irrelevant?
Okay. Yeah. So when I said what you did in business management was strategic management. Strategic management is about how we actually put this whole thing together in terms of where do we want to be, and then where are we now, where do we want to be, and how do we get there? Okay, and the how is a strategy. And therefore, then we take into account, okay, so we translate, we set our, we scan the environment and we look for opportunities and we set ourselves some goals. So the goals translate our vision into something that we can measure. Then we ask ourselves, how are we going to achieve those goals and that strategy formulation? And all the time, there's cost leadership, there's differentiation, and there's focus. But that just means what we're going to be doing. Are we going to achieve competitive advantage on the basis of cost, on the basis of the attributes of our product or service, or on the basis of which market we serve? So cost leadership, differentiation, focus. Okay, now you do exactly the same when you go beyond your borders. You'll do exactly the same thing to say, how do we analyze the environment, but we know there are more risks attached. Managing an international business is a bit more complicated than managing a local business because of cultural differences, currency issues, and country issues. In other words, which markets we enter. So that's why we went through that. Why do we go beyond our borders? Then where do we go? That's which countries or which markets. And then lastly, how do we go? And that's the entry strategies. So at the earliest, at the least risky effort is to export, is to simply stay in your country and export. And at the other end of the scale, the most risky, but probably the most, how would you call it? The most
Profitable.
rewarding,
Yeah.
would be then to set up your operations in another country, including manufacturing. So if you think about the motor vehicle industry or motor car industry, that is a totally globalized. Okay, I just read something on the paper on Friday, no, last week's paper about new cars, that a new Hyundai i20 is being made by Hyundai, but it's being made in its Brazil plant, the plant in Brazil. Now, whether that will only be for the Brazilian market or the North American market, or a South American market or the North American market, or the global market remains to be seen. But currently, the Hyundais we get in South Africa, some of them are made in India. And so you see again this globalized world. Hyundai is not just a Korean motor vehicle manufacturer. Well, it is a Korean motor vehicle. It doesn't only manufacture motor vehicles in Korea. It does them in India and in Brazil. And that's the whole thing about a multinational corporation. Now, clearly in Brazil, I mean, it thought about this. It's better to make the cars in Brazil to manufacture for the North American and South American market rather than make them in Korea and send them all over the world. So it's that kind of thing. The entry strategies. What is the entry strategy? So it could be exporting. It could be licensing. It could be franchising. It could be joint ventures between two companies, okay, to allow you to enter. And the advantage of a joint venture is that you spread the risk. Licensing and franchising too is a way of going beyond your borders without necessarily putting in that capital. Okay, but again, there are risks attached to it and there's advantages. Then there's joint ventures where two companies or more than two will form a separate entity and work together. The separate entity, for example, MTN and Vodacom will form an entity that will go to the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and offer cellular services there or whatever services they offer. Then you got a strategic alliance. So this year you don't form a separate company, you simply work together. Two companies work together. There's advantages to that. Again, you're generally spreading the risk, but you might not have the right chemistry, or now there'll be cultural clashes between which companies' methods should be used, etc. in terms of the alliance and who controls. Is it a 50-50 or is it a 60-40? Who's the major partner? Who's the minor partner, so to speak? So I need you all to look at entry strategies as well, okay? So let me be sharing. Are you all able to see my? Yeah, okay. So let's go to what you all have been waiting for. Yeah. Okay. So just help me here. Is this the right date or is it the wrong date? Is it 23rd or 21st? Anybody?
It is the 21st.
It's on the
20?
21.
21. So it's right. Okay, and the
Correct.
time?
I think that's the morning
It's a
paper.
morning one.
Afternoon. Afternoon paper. 1
Okay,
o'clock.
so 1 o'clock. Okay. Oh, okay. Why this thing is. Okay. So that's all right. And again, the same things. Make sure you answer the question. In order to answer the question, you must analyze the question. And the same reminders, read the whole paper, read the instructions. The instructions here are answer all questions. You can answer any question first, number your answers correctly, and manage your time. The same rules apply. 4 hours, 240 minutes for 100 marks, and you can do the maths. Read the whole paper, read the instructions. Yes, so you need to read the whole paper and decide what you're going to do. I'll tell you all about the structure just now. Read the questions carefully, integrate your knowledge, and avoid those nothing statements. Okay? Take a little bit of time to write down some notes before you actually start typing. Okay, put a few points down or consult some of your revision notes or whatever you might have put there before you start typing, and resist the urge to complete the all and then submit your paper. Read through what you've written, manage your time. If you get stuck with a particular question, move on and come back to it. Also remember that there may be overlaps within the questions so that you might have similar information. Please don't say refer to question 2, refer to paragraph 2 in question 2 in question 5 or whatever it is. Okay, type it out again, but it won't be exactly the same, obviously, but the same information could be relevant to more than one question. So you know the drill by now. Start studying early. Reach out for support. Check your technology, your APC, small, etc., data, devices, front-facing camera, all those kinds of things. Being exercising and eating healthy, being prepared to begin ahead of time, and as I said previously, avoid those academic integrity violations. In other words, don't copy. Okay, and then after your exam, well, you'll still have one more, so you'll still have to do some work. Okay. So understand the assessment requirements, engage with the course materials, plan your studies, etc. All those kinds of things are important. Reflect and review, plan your study, utilize the resources. Okay, an open book exam does not mean you don't have to do any work. You have to prepare. So here's the structure for our open book. Total marks 100, 5 articles, and 6 questions. Okay? 5 articles, 6 questions. Yeah. 2 20-mark questions and 4 15-mark questions. Right. Any questions?
Good day, sir.
Oh, 1 minute, 1 minute. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Good day, sir. How are you?
Okay. Thanks, Will. And you?
I'm good. There's a question that I would like to ask. It's
Sure.
relating to like if there is like a case study upon globalization, and could there be like a question where you would have to explain what is globalization, and then you explain
Okay, let me
type
put
of
your mind at ease. Let me put your mind at ease. You had globalization, you had so many pages of a so-called article. All right, I'm not going to give you the same thing again. So no, don't worry about globalization. However, that doesn't mean the things you learned about in globalization, the benefits of globalization doesn't apply. Remember, globalization is the one of the drivers of globalization is international trade. Okay,
Yes,
and the interdependence is because of trade, international trade. And international trade doesn't happen between governments. It happens between organizations. So Hyundai sells their cars made in India in South Africa, for example. Now, that's this thing between Hyundai and the South African market. But that then constitutes trade between Korea or India and South Africa, if you understand that. So that's why you start off by talking about the globalization, the global environment. Yeah, okay. Okay, I hope that
thank
answers
you,
your
sir.
question, Will.
Okay, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. No, it's a pleasure. Anybody else? There's some new messages. 21. Cindy says 21. Additional research, yes. Just market entry strategies and that global strategies. If you take each of those 4 strategies and you list the advantages, so-called disadvantages, and you take each of the entry strategies and you list the advantages and disadvantages. Okay? I hope that answers your question, Nadine. Yes, we're never going to have a class like this. Send us into board line. Oh my goodness. With the good stuff. Yeah, no, absolutely, Nadine. You know, I won't let you down. And yeah, it was dependent on my mood, if I remember correctly. So you have to wait now to see. All right. Are there any other questions? Somebody put something in the chat. 2 by 20 mark. How many words do you want? Don't start with the word things. Answer the question. Okay? Answer the question. Yes. At this rate, at third year level, you should be able to write essays. Okay? Possibly page and a half to 2 pages. Okay? Again, use paragraphs. And well, it doesn't matter on when you're writing on there, but answer the questions. You can use subheadings if you want to. Please don't write introduction and body and conclusion and start your last paragraph with in conclusion or anything like that. You don't need all that. You can put, if you want to show me that you read something else and that these words are not somebody else's but yours, I mean not yours but somebody else's, then you can do some in body or in the body of your answer. You can do some referencing. You do not have to put a list of references. Yes, Saloshni, there you go. You do not have to. If you want to acknowledge some source, then that just in the body of your answer, you can say according to David's or whatever, and you don't have to then put a list at the end of your answer or at the end on the end of the last question or anything like that. So again, you won't be penalized for not referencing, but if you want to show that these are not my thoughts, and it's so profound that you think it's going to make an impact, your additional reading, then you acknowledge the source in the body of your answer. Okay, you can within a paragraph you can have some bullet points, for example, but don't say put one word bullets there. All right, and avoid those nothing statements. Okay, any further questions? No. Nobody got any other question? 1 paragraph case studies, please. Now I told you there are 5 articles. Okay. You need to read these articles again. That's why you're going to do some reading. You're going to look through the whole paper. Then you'll read the articles. Then you'll look at the questions. Okay. And then you'll decide which question you think is most that you can handle most, that you're most comfortable with, and you start with that question, remembering to put it in the correct answer block. Okay. If there are sub questions within a question, then make sure you write down 1.1 or 2.1 or 2.2, whatever it is, before you start typing.
Hi, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Is it absolutely necessary for us to link to the case study, or can we apply general and practical knowledge where applicable?
Yes, so as I said to you all previously, sometimes you get a theory question, okay, that is linked, that is disguised as a so-called case study question, okay. However, that might not necessarily always be the case. So, for example, if you then identify, let's say, company A does some things, and you asked about the market entry strategies, right? Let's say Walmart. Walmart came to South Africa, all right, couple of years, well, some time back, and they came in via a sort of buying into Massmart, okay? And then more recently, Walmart started opening their own Walmart stores in South Africa. So the entry strategy changed a little bit, okay? And so you'll be able to now look at that critically and say, what were the advantages or disadvantages? If you think about it initially, it's better to go into existing business with an existing business, that's Massmart, because that might the Massmart would know the African market better than Walmart. So that's an advantage. And that's what you would put in your discussion if that was the case. However, if you're then talking about why would Walmart now open stores, that would then talk to the fact that they are confident about their brand or their product or whatever. Their brand or their product. Oh, somebody needs to mute, please. Okay, and given that they will now be able to compete with existing retailers. And the way they do it is through Walmart stores, not Makro or any other Massmart brand. They'll go through a Walmart store. So that shows a sort of difference in the way they approached the South African market initially and then more recently. So it's that kind of thing that talks about market entry strategies, for example. So that's why I said, do some research, look at the different market entry strategies, and then talk about the advantages and disadvantages generally, and then apply them to the article or whatever it is, or what question you're being asked. Okay, so Deborah, yeah, entry strategies, the 4 global strategies, just in terms of the advantages and disadvantages of each. And what was the other thing? No, and just remember that the notion of globalization and the benefits of globalization. Okay, so be prepared to do some work. Nothing is achieved easy. When I see you all next year for postgraduate diploma or honors, then hey, you'll understand that you need to, you're a 3rd-year students, you're not 1st-year students anymore. Okay? Is IB going to be harder than entrepreneurship? No, Nadine, you have to focus on both. You have to pass both. So you have to do both. Germany and Netherlands lost and Morocco is going for the win. Yeah. Okay, Cindy, that puts me in a good mood. Another African team going to the next round. So yes, why not? Okay. Any other questions? I need you all to, what's the word? Keep standing while yeah. All right. So you can still see my screen. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, back to my